treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabeg. We offer our gratitude to First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. Can we get an approval of today's agenda? Just a mover and a seconder. Director Taylor. Seconder. Director Wilford. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Item agenda A3, do we have any disclosure of pecuniary conflict of interest?
Chair, I do have a conflict with correspondence. Item D, correspondence 1, 2024-064. I'm the president of the not-for-profit Abbeyfield House Society Lakefield.
Thank you, Director. Noted conflict with D1.
So as far as process, will I be taken out of the Zoom while that item comes up?
I'll send that to the CAO.
Just want to be clear.
Only if the item is pulled and discussed.
Okay.
If it's not pulled and discussed, then there's no reason to leave the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. We have no delegations this evening. Brings us to A5, 2024-054, minutes of the meeting held October 17th, 2024. We get a mover and a seconder to adopt those minutes. Vice Chair Duguay, Director Boyko, all those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Item A6, do we have any business arising from the minutes?
No, Mr. Chair. There's no business arising from the minutes from the staff perspective. Staff did contact the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters as noted in the minutes, but there's no follow-up. There's no other business required.
Thank you. Seeing no questions from Director. Moves us to item B on our agenda, reports for approval. B1 is 2024-055, Drinking Water Source Protection Agreements, and I will turn it over to our CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as a follow-up to our OPSPA meeting that we just concluded, this comes to the authority board as the entity that has able to enter into these agreements on the behalf of our Source Protection Authority. Again, we are following a similar path that we have done in the past. And so the two agreements are attached to your cover report. I understand the other conservation authorities have already entered into these agreements, and they are also dated for the actual time frame that of April the 1st of 2024, which is this year, into March 31st of 2027. So that is as long as the transfer payment agreement that we have with the province. That's what I'm recommending, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jeanette. Is there any discussion or questions on the report? Seeing none. The recommended motion is that report 2024-055, Drinking Water Source Protection Agreement, be received, and that the Board of Directors approve the Memorandum of Agreement and Project Completion Agreement for the term of 2024 to 2027, and that the Chair of the Board and CAO be authorized to execute the agreements, and that staff be authorized and directed to do all things necessary to give effect to these resolutions. Can we get a mover and a seconder? Director Black, Vice Chair Duguay. Any final comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is approved. Thank you. That takes us to B2 2024-056, our watershed-based resource management strategy. Jeanette?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So following along the provincial directive, this is one of those directives that all conservation authorities needed to have concluded by the end of 2024. The board had received a draft and then it was circulated and posted. We had received no comments with respect to this, which I understand actually is not uncommon in terms of things. So staff are recommending approval of the watershed-based resource management strategy. And obviously this is a bit of a living document. And so this will be something that future boards will also be seeing as in future years.
Thank you. Do we have any comments, questions, or discussion on the report? Everyone has seen the management strategy previously. Our recommended motion for this report, that report number 2024-056, watershed-based resource management strategy, be received for information, and that the board approve the watershed-based resource management strategy, and that staff be authorized and directed to do all things necessary to give effect to these resolutions. Can we get a mover and a seconder for this report? Director Taylor. And a seconder. Director Baldwin. Any final comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. That leads us to item B3 2024-057, early access agreement with Hydro One. And I will turn this back to our CAO for this report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is at the request of Hydro One to enter into this early access agreement so that they are able to do some of their due diligence in terms of moving a line. I did attach some of our correspondence. Staff did have a meeting with the Hydro One staff. The agreement has also been reviewed by the authority solicitor and staff, and we have no amendments. I just do want to highlight that the agreement is one component of that, and obviously as work moves forward, Hydro One is well aware that they would also need required permits to do any of those things. So we've put those proper steps in place to ensure that the environment is protected as to best as it can be during this due diligence series. If they choose to go forward, there'll be another agreement and another process that would come forward. This is just like an investigative step for them, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, CEO. Questions or comments? Director Black?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Had the pleasure of meeting with Ontario Hydro this morning with Warden Clark after the mayor's breakfast. Councillor Duguay was there as well to hear all the good news from the mayor. But in the meeting, it talked about this corridor. They're bringing a new transmission line up some existing corridors that would be widened, need to be widened, or at least right of way. It's not property purchase. It's right of way widening, and there would be compensation for the farmers and anybody along the way. That there is a compensation package for the additional width of the corridor they might need for this. They're going to be putting in new towers, bigger towers, fewer towers because the bigger towers allow more space in between. But any property impacted by the widening, there'd be some kind of compensation. So through you, Chair, to CAO, was that part of the discussion? Has that package been provided at this point for Orca, considering it's going through some of our properties?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So again, this access or this agreement is to provide early access so that they can go in and do their due diligence. They already have a right of way, Hydro One there. And through the discussions, staff understand they're looking to move but stay within their right of way, but move the lines. So again, If that is part of their investigations that they need to widen that, then we understand there will be further steps. So we haven't taken those further steps because they haven't been able to get access to do their due diligence. But what you are referencing is correct in terms of our understanding, should they choose to widen their right of way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any further questions regarding the report? Seeing none, can I get the recommended motion is that report 2024-057 early access agreement to Hydro One be received, and that the board of directors approve the early access agreement, that the chair of the board and the CEO be authorized to execute the early access agreement. All those, do we have a mover? Director Wilford. Seconder, Director Black. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Brings us to item B4, 2024-058, new name for conservation area. I'll turn this to the CEO for a bit of a report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So following the approval of the Lands Conservation Area Strategy, one of the tasks was to come back to the board with a potential name for what has been historically referred to as the gravel pit, which is located in Otonabee South Monaghan Township. Staff did reach out to Hiawatha First Nations to see if they were interested, and they were. And following some site meetings and lots of discussions that the staff had with Hiawatha First Nation staff, a name has been proposed and recommended to the board. So I did consult with the chair, the vice chair, and obviously our director from Otonabee South Monaghan to the appropriateness of this. And so the name that staff are recommending is Mikinak, which is turtle, which is actually appropriate given the number of turtles found at the gravel pit through the regeneration of many years there. So that's the recommendation, Mr. Chair. Staff are happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Is there any comments or questions regarding this report? Director Taylor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jeanette, for the work you went through on this. I think it's an excellent exercise in consultation, and I'm very happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Director. Moved by Director Taylor. Sorry, I think I maybe saw a hand. Director Wilford, second that. Any further comments or discussion? I also believe that it's a great opportunity to partner and rename this conservation area. So the recommended motion is that report 2024-058, new name for conservation area, be received, and that the board approve the name Mikinak Conservation Area, and that staff be authorized and directed to do all things necessary to give effect to these resolutions. All those in favor? Did I get him? I need a mover, sorry. No, I did that. Director Taylor, Director Wilford. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Brings us to item B5, 2024-059, our nominating committee and finance committee for 2025. So at this time, we'll be looking for a nominating committee of 3 and a finance committee of 3. If directors remember, we instituted the finance committee earlier this year to look over the audit, as well as other stated finance areas that that committee will look at. So that's 6 members that we're interested, and of each of those committees, there'll be a chair. One person will be selected or decided to be chair of those two committees. So at this time, I will take any volunteers or such nominations for suggestions of directors to sit on those committees. Director Taylor.
Thank you, Mike. I'll volunteer to sit on the nominating committee again.
Thank you, Joe. Director Black.
I'll volunteer to sit on finance.
Thank you. Vice Chair Duguay.
Director Black's going to be stuck with me as a committee member on finance.
That's great. Director Baldwin.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I always like working under the expert leadership of Mr. Taylor. I'd be happy to put my name forward for the nominating committee.
That's great. This task's looking easier than it was anticipated. Do we have anyone that would be interested in the third member on finance or the third member on nominating? Nominating committee, and I believe it says in our report briefly, is to reach out to other directors and to put forth a slate of names in the new year for our chairs and our chair and vice chair.
Come on, Mr. Boyko and Mr. Rushmore. That'll make 6.
Put my name down for the nominating committee then, if you wish. I've been shamed into it.
No pressure, John.
All right. Sorry, Pat, were you going on for finance? So we have nominating committee. I do have 3 names, Director Taylor, Director Baldwin, Director Boyko. And currently finance, I have Director Black and Director Duguay. Is there a third that was interested in going on that finance committee?
Question, how many meetings?
Well, it's a new committee that's formed, but CAO, and perhaps you could.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. So there definitely will be one. So they will
That
be.
sounds good. I'll volunteer for that, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah. The audit is a definite, and then at the call of and the need in terms of things.
Perfect. All I heard was I will volunteer for that, so that is excellent. That fills our slate needed. Thank you. That was a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be. So I will. The recommended motion is that report 2024-059 titled Nominating Committee and Finance Committee for 2025 be received, and that the 2025 nominating committee be comprised of Director Taylor, Director Baldwin, Director Boyko, and that the 2025 Finance Committee be comprised of Director Black, Vice Chair Duguay, and Director Wilford. And that staff be authorized and directed to do all things necessary to give effect to these resolutions. Can we get a mover and a seconder? Vice Chair Duguay, Director Boyko. I dare open for comments or questions. Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Excellent. Thank you. Brings us to B6, annual meeting and regular board meeting dates. That report's put straightforward in front of us. Is there any discussion, comments on the dates that are provided? Vice Chair Duguay? You're just on mute still there. Thank you.
It's damn city computer. I have to press icons repeatedly. It's sort of electronic percussion, if you understand what I'm getting at. So the schedule, thank you for this. It also doesn't conflict with FCM, which the national conference is also scheduled in Ottawa this year. Chair Metcalf or Jeanette, would you be able to confirm? I recall there was a Conservation Ontario meeting, and I'm just trying to understand where that fit in. It was a day or so. I don't believe it would conflict with this if I recall, but I'm just wondering when those dates, if that's forecasted yet.
I'm not sure if those dates they're generally early in the week, those meetings, and as it goes, chair is the first representative, vice chair would be second, or CAO or is also. So the three are representatives to be able to go to Conservation Ontario.
And secondly, in that regard, there is a provincial conference, if I recall. Does that date set? Do we know that?
Jeanette, do you?
There's no provincial conference for Conservation Ontario Council.
Okay.
They have 4 meetings a year, and 2 of them are virtual and 2 of them are generally in person.
All right, so then, thank you. I may have been confused, but I have recalled receiving correspondence about that. But that was just, it's more of a query. I'm fine. I'm fine with the schedule as
There is another conference. It's not a it's the Laterna conference, if that's what you're referencing, which is not a mandatory meeting or conference.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Boyko.
I see there's no meeting in January, no meeting in July. That's fine. October 15th seems to be a Wednesday where every other meeting is a Thursday. Is that on purpose?
Not likely.
No. Sorry, Mr. Chair, and no, it's a Thursday. So that would be
the 16th.
That would be 16th. The AGM takes the place of the January meeting, and there typically has not been a July meeting.
Okay. So the 15th October goes to 16th?
That will be the 16th, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for catching that. Director Taylor?
Thank you, Mike. Jeanette, the AGM is January 16th. Do we have a location for that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, staff have a few options. We are looking to use our strategic plan, the theme of water, as our connection to our AGM. And I have a meeting next week with the chair and the vice chair to solicit their feedback on the options of that actual location.
So the January 16th meeting with the theme of water, it will be a theme of ice at that time.
I'm recommending Myrtle Beach. I think Myrtle Beach would be a good location.
Okay. Is it possible for staff to send, maybe, I'm not sure if they already do this, send meeting requests for all these different dates so it gets plugged into a calendar?
Mr. Chair, once the board approves the dates, then the staff do put them into your calendars as holds in terms of things. And once a date or a location is confirmed for the AGM, then we will also notify the board as well.
Thank you, Director. Any other comments, questions on the schedule? Director Black?
Yeah, can we send out the AGM in the first couple of months before everything is decided? Schedules get very busy quickly.
We're looking to approve this very shortly. So these dates will be the dates for next year, and staff will be able to take that and prepare their calendars for everyone.
Okay, and the AGM is typically at 5 p.m.
Jeanette?
Or will it be at 4 p.m.?
We typically have done 4. We've stayed with 4 o'clock for the AGM and the board meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from directors? Seeing none. it is recommended that the board report 2024-060, the 2025 annual meeting and regular board meeting dates be received, that the annual meeting be held in person on January 16th, 2025, and that the regular board meetings be held on the dates as recommended and as altered,
As amended.
as amended in this report, and that staff be authorized and directed to do all things necessary to give effect to those resolutions. Mover and a seconder. Vice Chair Duguay, Director Taylor, all those in favor. And that is carried. Thank you. That leads us to C, reports for information on the agenda. And C1 is 2024-061, 2024 annual campground report. I'm going to pass this over to our Manager of Conservation and Lands, Jesse James, to give us a bit of an introduction to the report, and he'll be able to answer any director's questions. Jesse?
Through you, Mr. Chair, just wanted to give a bit of an overview of the summary report based on some of the highlights from the 2024 season. So as a bonus in the 2024 season, we had 7 additional camping days than we normally do. Typically, we would have 150 days in the camping season. We had 7 extra days this year. Warsaw Caves saw an 8% increase overall, with 2% increase in day use and 17% increase in camping. Beavermead Campground saw a 25% increase in camping visitors in 2023. Lakefield Campground, we saw an 8% decrease in seasonal campsites, with there being 92 this year in comparison to 100 the previous year. However, with the drop in seasonal campsites, there was an increase in transient campsites by 59%. So there were 26 available transient sites at Lakefield in 2024 in comparison to 17 last year. This led to a 115% increase in total visitors, despite the fewer seasonal campers. So overall, we had a significant increase in transient camping over through the 3 campgrounds in 2024. And there were, especially with Lakefield, there was about double the number of transient campers compared to 2023.
Perfect. Thank you, Jesse. I think I'll open the floor. We'll have some discussion, some questions. Do directors have any questions on the report specifically in front of us? Director Black?
Just Jesse, thanks for the report. Just one question around in the Lakefield campground with the pickleball courts going now very close to the transient camping sites. Have there been any complaints from campers about pickleball noise?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have received no complaints about the pickleball courts by the campers.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Director Boyko?
Yeah, thank you for that report, Jesse. You mentioned that 92 down from 100 seasonal campers in the Lakefield campground. Do you know why? Can you guess why?
Go ahead, Jesse.
Mr. Chair, I don't have a specific reason as to why. Like there are people that just decide to leave over time, and with there being 92 versus 100, majority of those sites were within that area that was to be transitioned into
That
the
was my next
transient
question.
site.
So through you, Mr. Chair, so those 8 that left, most of them were in the blue area that's being transitioned out, so nobody replaced them anyway.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Director. Any other questions or comments regarding this report? Director Baldwin?
And thanks, Mr. Chair. Again, really good report, Jesse. Thank you for that. Nothing in stone here, Mr. Chair, but it's been bandied about and discussed about the potential in Peterborough to have an outdoor swimming pool. And one of the locations that's been mentioned has been Beavermead Campground. I'm just wondering how the authority would view such an enterprise if that was to come to fruition. Just want to put it on everybody's radar.
Jesse, would you want to comment, or I'll send that to our CAO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So actually, when through you, Mr. Chair, to Director Baldwin, when I was at council, this question sort of did come up in terms of things, and I realized that there's a bit of a historical conversation, if you will, around this concept. So from our perspective, we don't have really an opinion one way or another if the city of Peterborough chose to not have camping there and put a pool there. I was reminded by our permitting staff that it is in the floodplain and the campground, and that putting an actual pool there in ground, you will hit the water table very, very quickly. And so you will have the construction issues with that. So that's all I really have to offer on that particular subject matter.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director. Vice Chair Duguay?
Certainly, in response to Director Baldwin's comments, this is a matter that I've been repeatedly approached by Peterboroughans. Why isn't there an outdoor swimming pool? And why isn't there an outdoor swimming pool somewhere, Beavermead? Insofar as in-ground, there are other technologies, for example, the Merthyr pool system, which is used often for, it's a stainless steel construction, and you install pools. So they appear to be in-ground, but they're built above ground. You built deck platforms, everything around them. And they're built for World Aquatic Championships and communities around the world. So there's all kinds of cool technologies. I think folks that could essentially work around and work with any floodplain related issues. And there's other there, but again, it's just come up whether it goes in a campground or near a campground. My perspective, an outdoor swimming pool would be a healthy complement to the challenge waters of Little Lake, and I suspect some of our campers and our public alike would welcome a chance to use an outdoor proper outdoor aquatic facility. That's my perspective. But not this year's budget. Sorry.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
You're welcome.
Director Taylor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeanette, I thought about whether I should ask this. I'm going to go ahead with it. Earlier this summer, we were having some difficulty at Beavermead Campground with some unwelcome campers. I guess maybe I'll just phrase it that way. How has that issue played itself out?
Mr. Chair, through you, staff, it actually has not impacted visitation. As Mr. James was referencing, visitation actually remained quite steady and increased at Beavermead by 25%. So a little taken back by that, but it was actually a good news story in terms of how valuable and the asset is viewed, and that people still continue to come to Beavermead.
So did the unwelcome campers cease and desist, or is it still an ongoing issue?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that issue no longer exists. We've worked with the city staff, and we've put in a number of measures, everything from administrative right down to so management of the actual sites. So those issues no longer exist, and we've been improving our processes, getting ready now for the following season as well. So.
Very, very good. Congratulations both to you and the city staff, because that's a difficult problem to manage, and I'm very, very impressed, very pleased that you're able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Vice Chair Duguay.
Thank you. I also, on behalf of the city, would like to thank Jeanette, Orca staff. This was a very thorny issue. And as it was portrayed in print media, it was wrongly portrayed, inaccurately portrayed, and it made it sound like conservation or the city and the Orca were being bad by evicting a person in need. But there were so many layers involved, some of which I can't disclose to this group, some of which we're aware of. The end result, it was taken care of diplomatically, discreetly, and professionally, and that's what matters. So to Conservation Authority staff on behalf of the city, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other comments, questions regarding this report? I'd just like to also extend my thanks to Jesse and his team. It's not always an easy task doing what they do day to day, but we pulled through some hiccups and, like some directors have said, some challenges this year. But you learn from some of those and make sure that we improve and do better next time. So thank you, Jesse, and please relay that to your staff as well. So the recommended motion is that report 2024-061, our 2024 annual campground report, be received for information. Can we get a mover and a seconder? Director Taylor, Director Black, all those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Brings us to item C2, our 2024-062 CAO monthly activity report. And I will pass it on to our CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the one thing I do want to highlight, and it is a huge success for us in terms of all of the provincial directives that have been put out by the province. And so I'm actually reaching back almost 3 years and prior directives from the past board all the way up to our current directives. And Otonabee Conservation Authority has successfully completed all of those directives, and there is nothing outstanding that the province is seeking from us. So we had until the end of this year to meet those deadlines. Some conservation authorities have had to ask for extensions to those, but we're in a really good place, and I'm really pleased that staff and the board and our communities work together to make sure that we were fully compliant with those provincial directives. And I'm happy to answer any other questions that the board might have with respect to my report.
Thank you, Jeanette. Any questions for CAO on this report? Don't see any. The recommended motion is that the board report number 2024-062, our CAO Secretary Treasurer monthly activity report, be received for information. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Director Baldwin, Director Ashmore. Final call for any discussion, questions. Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. That moves us to C3, 2024-063, our media highlights. Any comments or questions regarding our media highlights? We always seem to do a good job of getting word out there on the Conservation Authority, and I thank all of our staff for that. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to receive for information. Would anyone like to move Director Boyko, Vice Chair Duguay, all those in favor to receive for information? That is carried. Thank you. And that brings us to item D, correspondence. D1 2024-064. Letter from Mark White, Abbeyfield House Society of Lakefield. Does anyone have any discussion that they'd like to bring forward? And I'll have to be weary at this time. Director, we do have some questions and discussion. At this time, I believe if Director Black just closes his video, that would suffice in not participating at this time since you did declare. And that would work. Thank you. Director Taylor.
Thank you, Mike. Jeanette, I just want to say that that I fully support your decision on this request. It's a big ask, and whether another year it could be a different answer, I don't know, but this year it's the right answer.
Thank you, Director. Vice Chair Duguay. You're still on mute.
I was just closing previous documents and reopening Jeanette's document. I professionally, I've been involved with a multiplicity of development projects throughout Ontario. We've never once asked for a waiving of fees from a conservation authority. Just to put in perspective, we have regularly asked of and have been subject to fee reductions or exemptions by way of municipal policy, upper or lower tier municipality, in some cases from certain granting organizations. But I reviewed my many projects in the past, Chair Metcalf, and I couldn't find one where we asked the Conservation Authority for a waiving of fees, just for the benefit of the committee. And I certainly am conversant with this project and the good work of the community and Director Black, but I support our CAO's recommendation.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other comments, questions on the correspondence? Seeing none, can I just get a motion to receive the correspondence as information? Director Taylor. And a seconder, Vice Chair Duguay. All those in favor to receive for information? And that is carried. Thank you. And Director Black, you may join the meeting. Thank you. At this time, we're going into our section E, our closed session. So I will call for a motion to move into closed. And we have two pieces, both of section 14, governance bylaw, one for litigation and another for position, plan, and procedure or instructions. So can I get a mover and a seconder to go into close? Vice Chair Duguay and Director Wilford. All those in favor? That is carried, and I will just give it one moment to do what we need to do. And if you could just let me know when we are ready.
Mr. Chair, I am stopping recording. And